such a beautiful day here on Mount Horeb. Ham, Shem, Nala, will you all quit quarreling? Quit fighting all the time. This is a beautiful, peaceful day. It's not often that we get to graze at the green fields of Mount Horeb. And you all know, don't you bawl and bleat at me. Shem, don't make a mess right there where other people are grazing. You all know the rains come and go in these parts, and they go a lot more than they come. Besides, this is a place of peace. You shouldn't quarrel all the time. For there are places in the world where there is no peace. There are places in the world where there is quarreling. Well, I mean, you all are sheep. I guess you're not going to tell anybody, so maybe I should let you know. I used to be an Egyptian. Not just any Egyptian. I was actually raised in the house of Pharaoh by Pharaoh's own daughter. Egypt was a luxurious land. Many pleasures. I was educated in an Egyptian household. Never knew such things as hunger and thirst. But then as I grew, I began to notice that I didn't really look like the Egyptians. In fact, I looked a lot more like the Israelites, the Hebrews who are in bondage there, who are oppressed. So I began to search and try to find out my identity. Who was I? And I found out that I actually was an Israelite. That Pharaoh had given an order to kill all the firstborn sons. And that I was somehow spared and taken into Pharaoh's own household. I was one of those oppressed people. And so I began to look at Egypt with new eyes and to see and understand that the whole system, that the whole government was built on the backs of slaves. And this compassion began to be kindled inside me. And I began to see those people with new eyes. I began to see and hear their groaning. I began to feel their whips, their lashes, the brutality of their oppression. And one day as I was wandering around Egypt, I saw this Egyptian taskmaster. He was brutalizing this Hebrew slave. He was murdering him right before my very eyes. And this happened all the time. The Israelites when they became too weak, or they became too old, or they disobeyed in some way, they just simply murdered them and hid their bodies, and they had not so much as a grave. And this taskmaster was beating this Hebrew to death right before my eyes. And I looked to the left, and there was no one there. And I looked that way, and there was no one there to take up the cause of this afflicted one who was being killed, lashed again and again. And before I knew it, I had a rock in my hand. And as that Egyptian taskmaster continued to brutalize that Hebrew, I struck him. I took his body, and I hid it in the sand, and I hoped that no one had seen this thing that I had done. But the next day, I went out, and behold, here are these two Israelites quarreling with each other. A lot like you do a lot. They were fighting and brutalizing each other, and I thought, isn't it enough that the Egyptians oppressed them and beat them and put them in bondage? But what's even worse is what they do to each other inside the community. And I said, why are you fighting? Why are you quarreling? Why are you victimizing your brother? And the one said to me, who do you think you are now, Lord, ruler over us, because you killed the Egyptian and hid his body in the sand? And then I knew it was only a matter of time before Pharaoh would find out and have my head. And indeed, Pharaoh did find out. And indeed, Pharaoh wanted my execution, and so I fled. Like a coward, I ran into the wilderness, into the desert, as far as I could, and I threw off the trappings of Egypt, and I took off the makeup of Egypt, and I threw the gold of Egypt there in the sand, and I ran into the wilderness and the desert until I came to know a thirst and a hunger like I had never known before, and there I saw the well that day. I mean, that's where I met you all for the first time. Remember, Jethro's 7 daughters were watering you, and there you were, those beautiful girls watering the flock. And then there were these shepherds who came along and tried to run them off and oppress them and quarrel with them. And so I came again. I said, leave them alone. Let them feed their sheep. And it was then that Jethro invited me into his house and gave me his most precious, beautiful daughter, Zipporah, to be my bride. And it was there that we had our sons and Gershom. And I know you all have a problem with Gershom. He likes to climb on you and pull on your wool. But he is a beautiful little boy. In fact, I guess since you all can't tell anybody, his name actually means an alien am I. Because you know, sometimes I still feel like an alien. I love my life. I'm happy with being a shepherd. I mean, it's probably the only job I'm fit for, honestly. No offense against you all. You are good sheep. I try to be a good shepherd. I try to lead you beside still waters and green pastures. I try to protect you when the wolves come. But I feel not just like an alien in this land, but an alien in my own life. Like there's this hole in my soul, like something's missing. And sometimes I still hear the cries of my people. Sometimes I still feel the lashes of those whips, and sometimes my heart is still in Egypt. Yet sometimes I feel like an alien am I. Wait a minute. Do y'all see that? Do you see, who is that or what is that? What is this strange thing? A bush? A flame burning but not consumed? I've never seen anything like this in my life. A burning bush? What? Did someone speak? Here I am. Holy ground. Who are you? The God of Abraham? The God of my fathers? The God of Isaac and Jacob? What do you want with me? You have heard the groaning of your people. Pharaoh has died and their voices have raised to you. You see their oppression. You have come down. You know their suffering. You feel it. What kind of God are you? You're not like the gods of Egypt. You hear and you know their suffering and their affliction, and you want to take them to a land flowing with milk and honey, the land of the Hittites and the Amorites and the Jebusites. God, I don't want to offend you in any way, but how would you do such a thing? I mean, Pharaoh is a living God. He's a powerful person. And the gods of Egypt, how could you accomplish such a powerful thing to bring these people out of slavery and to bring them into a new land? How are you going to do that? You want to use me I'm the worst man for this job. You couldn't pick anybody else. I'm just a shepherd, God. I can't be the person that you would choose to do this thing. I can't stand before Pharaoh. The Egyptians hate me. I killed one of their own. The Israelites hate me. I betrayed them. I'm a coward. God, you can't send me. Go to the Israelites. God, I don't even know your name. Who would I even tell them sent me? I am that I am. Yahweh. God, I hate to break this to you, but that's not really a name. That's a statement. You're going to show the people who you are by what you do. I am that I am God. I seriously think you're making a mistake here. I am that I am God. I'm not the person that you should send. There's got to be someone else who's more qualified. There's got to be somebody else you can send. I am that I am God. I'm the worst man for this job. Why me? Because you'll be with me. That's all I need to know. I am that I am God, that you'll be with me. I am that I am God. I'm not elegant of speech. I can't even talk. You know that I stutter sometimes. God, you could find somebody else. Please, don't kindle your anger against me. You'll be with me. Did you all see that? Did y'all see the burning bush? The I am that I am God just spoke to me. He told me that he has heard the groaning of his people, that he has heard their cry, and that he has come down. What kind of I am that I am God is this, that knows the suffering of his people, that bears that suffering with them? The I am that I am God says that I am going to go before Pharaoh and tell him to let the people go. I told him I'm not qualified. I told him I'm not even a good shepherd. I'm the worst possible person that he could select for this job. But he said he'd be with me. He said that he would not leave me nor forsake me. He said that I have a brother named Aaron who would be my mouthpiece. He said that he would bring out the people by signs and wonders. He said that he knows me inside and out. My sin, my pain, my burdens. He knows me, and he's called me anyway. If this I am that I am God can use me, then he can probably use anybody. I guess he could probably even use a bunch of sheep that quarrel and fight all the time. The I am that I am God can use anybody. He told me that he'd be with me, that he would shelter me, that he would protect me, that he who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of this I am that I am God, that he's my strength and my refuge, my God in whom I trust. Surely he will save us from the fowler's snare and the deadly pestilence. He will cover us with his feathers, and under his wings we'll find refuge. His faithfulness will be our shield and rampart. We will not fear the terror of night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the noisome pestilence that stalks in the darkness. 1,000 may fall at our side, and 10,000 at our right, but it will come nigh us. We will only behold the punishment of the wicked if we make this God, this I am that I am God, our dwelling. then no harm will befall us. No disaster will come near our tent, for he will give us angels concerning us, to guard us in all our ways. They'll lift us up in their hands so that they'll not strike their foot against the stone. We will not fear the lion and the cobra. We will trample the great lion and the serpent, because he's with us. Because he loves us. He will answer us when we call. He will be with us in affliction and trouble. I still think I'm the worst man for this job. But then again, I do stand up for the afflicted ones. Then again, I am a shepherd, and maybe somewhere down the road he'll use me as a shepherd. Then again, I do speak Egyptian, and I am a Hebrew. Maybe this is the perfect job for me, because this I am that I am God can use anybody, even you. And maybe this I am that I am God, maybe one day he will come himself and he will make his dwelling among us. And maybe one day he too will be an alien, am I? An alien to his own creation that will reject him. This suffering God, maybe this God who knows our pain, will one day come and be our shepherd. You know, maybe I am the worst man for the perfect job.